back in for Job. But yeah, fair play. It could go either way. If hindsight's a wonderful thing, and you know what fans will be like if we don't turn up tonight, we don't play well. Why has he made so many changes? If we go there and we win and we put in a great performance, well, he's a genius, isn't he? And that's how football can work.
Yeah, and also interesting to see how Connolly and Watson do in their first starts for the football club. They've been itching for a chance, haven't they? Particularly Watson in recent times. But Connolly, has always impressed when he's made a cameo off the bench as well.
Yeah. He's different to Wilson. Wilson's tall and rangy and he can sprint as well. Connolly, small, stocky, backs in, fights his corner with the centre backs as well. I think he's got a bit of quality about him if we can get ball into the box for him as well. And obviously looking at their setup as well, they obviously play with that back three, so maybe he's thinking the two centre forwards possibly go and lock on and make it difficult for them. Again, we'll have to wait and see. Where obviously, I'm sure the Preston coaching staff have seen our team sheet come in and they're like, what are they going here?
Yeah.
So they're puzzled as much as we are sat here as well. But yeah, in terms of Tommy, I think it's great for him. He's had limited opportunity really, coming off the bench 5-10 minutes, and it's hard to get into a game really when you're getting that time when, sometimes I've been there as a player, you come off the bench, the game's open, especially towards the end of the game, players have got their second wind and you're coming out there, you're blowing a little bit within 5 minutes when it's happening quite quick, but he's got to start this evening. He's a quiet lad, Tommy, but I think he's quietly confident in his own ability as well, and getting the ball out to him early on, because if Tommy is playing out on that left-hand side, and again, Story, the right centre-back there, and Potts has actually done it well in recent seasons when he's actually played there and helping out back, but if he switches off and Tommy can get the ball, that outside centre-back won't want to get squared up with Tommy too often out on that side as well. And then, again, on the opposite side, if Chris Rigg is playing out there, he'll want to come in on his left foot as well. Could be Wilson playing up against him.
It could be. We will find out very soon. Let's look back at that game, though, against QPR, which in the end ended up being a good point on the road, all things considered. Wasn't many chances for either side, was there, throughout the game?
No, well, this was a great chance. I thought they started better than us, actually. I thought he pulled out to that left-hand side, good delivery into the box. We see it there. First one just evaded the striker coming in, and then the other one, he's got to score. I think it was Sella, wasn't it, the big lad? He's got to score with that one. Didn't sort his feet out in time. And then we come into the game a little bit, and Trey there, lovely little disguise pass into Wilson. It just popped up off him, invited the striker, unfortunately just a yard or so past that left post. But we had a little bit of a spell here in the middle, and Luke there cushions one for Dan Neil. Difficult for Dan, it's on the rise, he's got to get up and over it, and he manages to do so. I think you see the keeper there, thinks he's beat, watching it, praying, comes back off the post, and it's difficult for Wilson. It's on him before he knows it, and he can't sort his feet out in time. And then I think Steve Cook there, isn't it? Just gets across Isidore as well at the near post. So we did have a little bit of a spell in the first half. I thought they started better than us in the first 5-10 minutes or so. We didn't really get off the bus, as you say, for the away games, and then they sort of finished the half stronger as well for me. So yeah, in that first half they had a couple of opportunities, we had our best opportunities certainly, so but I thought overall, even in the first half, a draw was probably a fair result.
Yeah, all things considered, that was probably my takeaway from the game as well. Elias Chair was a bit of a thorn in the side. He's just coming back from injury himself, isn't he? And he looked a bit rusty at times. Yeah. But he was their most likely outlet as well. Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's one of those. He's good. He can shift the ball well, and he does put good delivery in there. But second half, I thought they were too reliant on him. When we went down to 10 men, we sat deeper. Those two banks of four. They were trying to get the ball out to him. They weren't clever enough and didn't have that guile to just thread balls through us. It was slow build up. Out to Chair, and he kept putting balls in, and it was comfortable for Simon Moore and the defence in general, other than the one Jimmy Dunn had, which we'll see in a moment. But yeah, no credit to the boys, come away with a clean sheet, and almost in a way it was like, do you know what, we're a man down, and we'd actually started okay in the second half, but once Job gets sent off, you could just see the mentality was right, let's shut up shop, let's try and take the point, the clean sheet, and we get back on the bus, and obviously that was the case, wasn't it? Hypothetical, of course, but do you think if we kept the full squad on the pitch, we could have nicked it?
Yeah. Listen, I've heard people saying it in the week, well, if we'd have had 11 on the pitch, we'd have beaten them. We'll never know, It's hypothetical, as you say there. But yeah, no, we did have a decent spell. And they've obviously not won at home so far this season, so you'd expect them maybe to blow up a little bit and get a little bit edgy. But as I say, we'll never know. But what we did do for 35 minutes or so is defended well, set up well, and even the likes of Isidore and Patrick helping out the fullbacks, getting back in at times. And then, as I said there, Aaron and Connolly came on, didn't have too many touches, it was difficult. Here's the sending off now. Yeah, I don't think you can argue it. And it's a strange one in a way. He's got control of it, hasn't he? Just overruns it, tries to rescue it, just goes over the top of the ball and then catches him on his shin. you can tell by Job's reaction, I think he knows straight away. One or two of their players, yes, they're running in, and they're almost apologetic to Job, and they're giving him a pat on the back, and you can see the staff, our staff as well, and saying, yeah, it's an accidental one, but it was a sending off, so yeah, you can't argue. And he's been great for us, Job, this season. One of our standout performers so far, so he's going to be a big miss.
Yeah, big miss in that midfield, but hopefully, you know, Sunderland have the strength and depth to adapt and move throughout these games without him, and obviously it gives another person an opportunity, doesn't it, as we've seen?
It does, yeah, exactly that. You know, I've said it in recent weeks where you sat top of the table and you don't really have to change it too much. You know, if lads are fit and everybody says they're fine, pretty much the manager wants to try and keep it as steady as he can. But at the same time, then you've got to give lads opportunities. You know, we spoke about Alexic, where I thought, you know, maybe he's going to come in this evening. He's been on the bench last 3-4 games. I think he played for Serbia the other week for the 21s. But he's had no game time, so it's got to become a point where you're getting into the winter months. We've got, I think, another 3 players on 4 yellow cards as well. So, you know, I think Patrick, Trey and Chrissy Rigg on 4 yellow cards. And Job when he comes back as well, yeah. So
they don't cancel them out, which I was hoping
you could go and lose 2 of those in a game or 2, and then all of a sudden he is looking behind him, and then he's relying on lads who haven't really had too much game time. So it's tricky to try and get that balance for minutes for boys who aren't getting minutes.
Okay, let's have another look at the Sunderland side if you are just joining us around the world. We're broadcasting around the world this evening, and this part of the programme is on our YouTube channel as ever. The pre-game always free on our YouTube for our fans around the world. You can come with us for the full ride. Get your match today streaming passes right now at safc.com. That's the Sunderland starting 11 and bench. It's nice to see Dan Ballard back on the bench there, and also Mayenda on the bench, of course. He was there last week, in the last game, sorry. But yeah, good to see Dan Ballard back there.
Yeah, it's fantastic, you know, and it's difficult for Dan as well. He's obviously been a regular, certainly last season, wasn't he? One of our main performers as well. And then obviously he's had 1 or 2 niggles, so he's had time out of the team, and thankfully Chris Metham's come in and got straight into it, and he's been fantastic alongside Luke O'Nien. So Dan's going to have to bide his time as well, but you wait for opportunities. Somebody picks up an injury, somebody picks up a suspension, and he's back in. So, but it's good. You look at the strength on the bench there. You know, you've got Patrick to come on, Romain. You know, options later on in the game when it's getting stretched. Because their full-backs or outside centre-backs won't enjoy those coming off the bench later on either.
Absolutely. OK then, we'll be back very soon after the ad break. We'll be joined by our friend Rob Mason, club historian. Welcome back, everyone, to SAFC Live. We are here in the the Sky Studio at the Stadium of Light, as we're always broadcasting from the Stadium of Light for away games. The fans, of course, and the lads are down at Deepdale. a very historic stadium within English football, Rob.
Absolutely, very historic stadium. It's been playing there for probably as long as any club have played at their home ground, though it's been completely redeveloped over the years. Since my first visit to Deepdale, which is about 50 odd years ago. Yeah. But yeah, very historical club from the very, very early days of football, and hopefully there'll be a bit more history tonight if Sunderland can get the 3 points Danny wants. He knows I always like when I like a point away, I'd obviously prefer to win. But
after Saturday's
Saturday was a classic example of why.
Yes.
At the beginning of the game, you're away to QPR, you're thinking, yeah, we'd like to win, but the way things turned out was a very good point.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd like to win tonight. We're capable of winning tonight. But at the moment, if you say to me, offer me a point, I'd say yes, thank you very much. As long as we follow that up with 3 points on Saturday and win your home games and draw your away games, you don't go far wrong. I think Regis this season has openly said 92 points is his target for an automatic promotion. Well, you win your home games and you draw your away games, and guess how many points you've got.
Let's have a look at the starting 11 for people just joining us around the world. And I'm just going to turn you up a little bit on that. 3 changes, Danny. Maybe not expected.
No, maybe. I was thinking, I said it yesterday actually, I was thinking maybe get Tommy in there, give him a run out, why not? I think Romain wasn't at his best at the weekend. 1 or 2 others weren't as well, but I think give him a rest. It's a 3-game week. Give Tommy an opportunity. He's been waiting in the wings. He's had minutes off the bench here and there, sparse minutes, but give him a run out, why not? He might not play on that side, just chatting with Rob, that's his favoured position. Yeah. But Isidore might pull rank and send him across the pitch. We'll have to wait and see what happens. They might have a little spell, swap every now and then. If you're not getting too much joy, we'll have to wait and see how we set up. I've got Chris Rigg on there. Chris has played there. He played there last season a few times. Chris probably doesn't enjoy playing out there as much, so they might play a 3 in there still. We might stick with the 4-3-3. We'll have to wait and see once we get underway. It's a good problem to have for us. We're scratching our heads here trying to pick the formation. So Preston are going to be in there as well. Their coaching staff now thinking, what are they setting up like here? So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Yeah,
wait and see indeed. Let's have a look at Preston then for the first time this evening. This is how they line up. They appear to be unchanged from their defeat at home against Bristol City, Danny.
Yeah, that was, usually generally, as you say, 3-1 defeat, wasn't it? Well, the first goal was a dubious one with the handball. I'm not sure if you've seen it from Bristol City, but no, generally, managers make a change or two. They've had a bad result at home, and then obviously he's gone with it though. So he seems to be happy. I think go back at 2 or 3 games, they had 3 clean sheets on the bounce. And obviously in the last 3 games they conceded 8 goals, so they've gone from clean sheets to shipping a load of goals. But no, he's stuck with it. Bit chat about the lad there, Kane Kessler-Hayden, I think, playing that left-hand side, get up and down, wing back. Sam Greenwood, 1 or 2 lads will know about, good friend of Dan Neil as well. I think he got his goal at the weekend, didn't he? I mentioned Potts, up and down that right-hand side, big physical presence as well. So they've got 1 or 2 players in the side, and Whiteman will just sit in front of the back 4, try and dictate play for them as well.
Yeah, and under Paul Heckingbottom, they'll hope that they end the season a lot higher in the table than they currently are. A good quality manager, particularly at this level.
Well, yeah, I mean, Paul's been around the block. He was one of many names that was touted as a possible Sunderland manager in the summer, given that he was a former Sunderland player, albeit his only... Yeah, no appearances. The nearest he got was he played in Richard Odd's testimonial against Steaua Bucharest, which we lost 1-0, and if I remember rightly, poor old Hecky gave the ball away for the only goal of the game. But he was a decent player. He was at Sunderland for 4 years in the late 90s. He was actually quite a good player. He's a nice lad. He's been here and won as a manager not too long ago with Sheffield United. So yeah, he will have them organised. I think Preston might be in a little bit of a false position. Yeah. It's still very, very early days.
Do you think Queen's Park Rangers are in a false position based on the weekend?
I think in terms of how they play football, they probably are a bit better than their league position, but like a lot of teams, their league position is revolved around the fact they can't score a goal. And in Preston's case, Preston I think have only scored something like about 8 goals at home. I think 4 of them are from set pieces. Another one was a penalty. So, teams struggle to score goals, and that's their difficulty. Hopefully they'll struggle to score goals against us tonight. And I think, Danny, they've actually conceded 3 in each of their last 3 games, including the League Cup tie against Arsenal last week.
I like that one.
But they are league in goals, so I'm sure in the Preston dressing room this week and on the Preston training pitch, it's been about tightening up, getting back to basics.
Well, and making sure from anyone, Sunderland have the record of clean sheets this season, don't they, Danny?
Yeah, exactly that as well. Yeah, and, but the prime example there, when we mention it, and you look at it, games on paper and results. Obviously we drew 0-0. Middlesbrough went last night 4-1, 1-0 there. Sheffield Wednesday's the biggest prime example. Got beat 6-2 against Watford at home. Then they rolled Norwich over 2-0 last night. So you know, football can change like that. So.
Yeah, isn't that typically the Championship? Yeah. Everybody can beat everybody.
Yeah,
really,
exactly.
Which is exactly why when we are playing away to Preston, we are top Preston, 4th bottom, and I'm sitting here thinking, actually, I'd take a point because everybody can beat everybody.
His negativity is going to work.
No, it's not mine. It's my positive. You start with a point. You come home with a point. Obviously, you want 3, and if you can get 3, happy days. But don't come home having got beat because you were pushing too hard and gave a game away.
It's going to be an interesting game. Let's have a look at this fixture from a historic point of view. The biggest game, obviously, in Sunderland's history in regards to Preston North End will be, of course, 1937.
Yeah.
Preston went on the next year to win the FA Cup, didn't they?
They did indeed. And when Preston won the FA Cup the year before, the year after, rather than 38, they beat Huddersfield 1-0 in the final with a last-minute penalty, and Huddersfield's goalkeeper was Bob Hesford, the father of future Sunderland goalkeeper Ian Hesford. Oh, wow. It's a little aside. But yeah, we beat Preston 3-1 at Wembley, 37. First time we'd ever won the FA Cup, getting beat 1-0 at half-time. In those days, if you'd had red cards for professional fouls, would have been 1-0 down and a man down because our centre-half hacked their centre-forward down, he's clean through just before half time, and just no such thing, just a finger wagging and a free kick. So we got away with it. Came back, Bobby Gurney equalised, Ray Carter scored, Eddie Burbank scored a late goal, and happy days. 3-1, as you say, the biggest game in the history of Sunderland and Preston North End. And in the Preston North End side that day was Bill Shankly, the future Liverpool manager. Bill Shankly was always on record as saying the best forward line he ever saw was Sunderland's forward line of the 30s. Really? When there was 5 forwards. Yeah. Yeah, in the old WM formation of 2 wingers, 2 inside forwards, and the centre forward. Who knows? Who knows? Given that lineup, I mean, you and I off air have been discussing the different permutations, but we'll find out 5 minutes into the game, won't we?
This is our 126th meeting between the two sides, with some high-scoring games in the 60s and 50s, including a 6-0 defeat away at Deepdale. Hopefully we don't succumb to anything like that this evening.
No, well, we don't. But I mean, it's only 3 or 4 years ago we went down to Bolton, not too many miles away from Preston, in the position where if we won the game we'd go top of the league, and we did get beat 6-0. Yeah. These things can happen in football. That's it. It's not going to happen tonight. Don't panic. But it can happen. And Preston, they've already beaten us down there this season. Of course, the League Cup though was a game where we made a lot of changes. Yeah. I think Chris Rigg was in the side, Simon Moo was in the side. I think other than that, it's probably a different 11. Wasn't it? Yeah. I mean, Mundell played in that game, and I expected him to play tonight, but he's out of the side. He did, yes. And although Mundell and Roberts are left out this evening, it does mean that should we need them, you can bring them on fresh in the last 15-20 minutes and cause PNE a problem.
How much of a point will Alan Brown want to make tonight on his return to Deepdale?
Only he'll know. I mean, obviously, was he there 10 years or so, wasn't he? So obviously, I think he's got a good rapport and relationship with the fans still, even though he's moved on. But no, you always want to go back as a former player and give a good account of yourselves first up. Now, listen, if he goes and gets the winner for us, I'm sure inside he'll be absolutely loving it. But no, first up, I think from Alan's point of view, he's obviously trying to nail down a regular starting position for us. Turning in good performances and contributing like he did down at Portsmouth when he got into the side. At the weekend, again, it was a scrappy game, hard to gauge. I mean, after the game, we were saying who was man of the match. Yeah. We ended up giving it the fans in the end, didn't we? Not singing for half an hour. It was difficult to pick somebody out who stood out, really. Yeah. But no, he'll want to get out there and come through the game. He'll know, obviously, a lot of the boys in their team as well. He'll have 1 or 2 bits of banter with them in the tunnel, I'd imagine, or before the game, before the warm-up. But once it gets down to it, switch on, get your game head on, and he'll want to come away with the 3 points.
Do you think Regis will have picked his brains about any of the players?
Yeah, I'd imagine so.
Has that ever happened?
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, I've had plenty of that with managers as well. Usually they look around, especially the experienced boys, and I'd say Alan was there for years, wasn't he? So he'll know most of that squad. Yeah.
A lot of this squad's been there a long time as well. The Preston players, they tend to stick around, don't they?
I think when Alan Brown looked at the fixtures at the beginning of the season, he'd have had that trip to Deepdale nailed on as a game he's really looking forward to. But now he'd be looking forward to a different reason, because going back to Preston, seeing his old fans where he was such a legend at the club is one thing, but knowing that with Job's suspension, he's got an opportunity to play a few games in a row and make himself first choice, which everybody expected him to be at the start of the season. But because of how well Job, Rigg and Dan Neil have done, he's found himself missing out. This is his opportunity to say, no matter how well anybody else is playing, I'm going to play so well. This is my shirt now for the rest of the season. And that's going to surpass his ambitions tonight in terms of what he wants out of the game rather than just, here I am back at Preston,
Absolutely.
remember me.
Yeah, no, exactly that. Yeah, he's got 3 games, hasn't he? Certainly that, and then obviously, as I say, Job comes back. I think it's West Brom on the 26th.
Yeah.
And then he's still on 4 yellows as well, like 1 or 2 of the other boys as well. So big opportunity, not just himself, as we said, with Aaron Connolly coming in at the top end of the pitch as well, I think.
Yeah, let's quickly flash up the side again for people just joining us. This is the Sunderland side for you. There's changes tonight. 3 changes in the 11, Danny.
Yeah, well, I was going to run through the formation there, but yeah, I think one thing we do know is that back 5, I think obviously Moore with the clean sheets back to back, and the lads in front of him been excellent. And then it's what happens in front of those 6 ahead of them, really. Whether he goes with Dan sitting, Riggy and Alan Brown just ahead of him. Isidore might well play out on the right. Tommy might go out on the right. To say once we get underway, we'll have to see. But one thing we do know, we've made a few changes, and we've got good strength on the bench as well.
Yeah, it's always helpful, isn't it, Rob, when you've got some strength on the bench?
Absolutely, and we have got more and more strength, as Danny mentioned earlier, apart from all the attacking options we're talking about. And isn't it lovely to be talking about attacking options for a side where we've struggled to have attackers, you know, in recent years. But also, you've got Dan Ballard there back. As you mentioned earlier, now you talk about people coming and taking opportunities. When Dan Ballard left, was missing from the team because of injury, everybody thought he'll be straight back in. He's one of our best players. He is one of our best players, but you cannot drop Mepham. No. Mepham's been absolutely superb. I don't know where they get these decent Wales centre halves from, Danny. And obviously Luke and I do hear some people saying Luke and I can't play centre half. Well, he can in my book. I think he's been excellent. And the way that we play, when you want somebody to bring the ball out of defence as well, Luke for me has got to be a nailed-on player to stay at centre half. So just like Alan Brown's had to wait for an opportunity to get into midfield, I think Dan Ballard's going to have to wait for an opportunity to get back into central defence. But when it comes, he'll want to keep that shirt. He's capable of keeping that shirt, and whoever misses out will be desperate not to miss out. It's competition for places in the best respect.
Yeah, it's one of those as well. I said it the other week, I think, Frankie, where the team you're training, sometimes the manager will say, "The door's always open if you want to come and give me a knock." But you can't at this moment in time, because he'll just say, "There's the league table. We're sat there. You've got to earn it in training. Wait for your opportunity. And when you get it, then you get into the team."
Exactly. If Simon Moore keeps another clean sheet tonight, and Pato's fit on Saturday,
what does he do?
What does he do? You bring Pato back. I love Pato. I think Pato's excellent. But if Simon Moore has kept 3 clean sheets,
it's harsh to bring him out then, isn't it? So
difficult decisions for the manager, but nice decisions to have from our point of view.
And someone who we're expecting, we touched upon at the beginning of the programme, we expect to hopefully make an impact this season is young Tommy Watson, local lad, getting his first start tonight.
Yeah, absolutely, and not before time. I was itching for Tommy Watson to start last season when we weren't doing well, and I thought we needed a spark. But he's had a few cameos off the bench, and he's done well. But he's had very limited game time. Tonight's his big opportunity. I've watched him a lot over the last few years for the under-18s and the under-21s. He's an exciting player. A lot of people have described him as Jack Clark Mark II. He's a similar player to Jack Clark in the way that he goes past people, in the way that he takes them on, in the way that he cuts in and shoots. Obviously, Romain Mundle's done a very similar thing.
Point two then?
Yeah, well, maybe. But he's an excellent player. I'd like to see us feed the ball to him a lot. I hope that when we start, he's playing wide left in his best position, which I think will help a young lad on his first start. He's been itching for that, and I'm always one that loves to see young lads I've watched over at the training ground and then up at Appleton actually get a chance in the first team. Another local lad in the side, along with Chrissy Rigg, along with Dan Neal, and normally along with Anthony Patterson. Obviously Zach Johnson on the cusp of as well. He's sat on the bench a lot of times recently. Always good. Another indication of how well our academy do. And of course, talking about our academy players, somebody to watch out for on the opposite side is Sam Johnson, who's another success story from the academy, but left us to go to Arsenal, subsequently Leeds, now at Preston.
Okay, right. We will be back very soon here on SAFC Live. You can get your matchday streaming passes right now at safc.com. We're going to be back very soon with full commentary from down in Deepdale if you want some SAFC commentary on your TV.
At Virtue Motors, it's all in the people.
My love of Spitfires came as a small boy. Working on Spitfires is a huge responsibility, and the same applies at work.
I'm a Punjabi singer. I've got a passion for singing, and I always loved cars.
When I'm photographing the car, I try and picture myself as the customer, so the photos have to look really good.
The care, passion and attention to detail people at Virtue Motors invest in the things they love will help you choose your next perfect car. Because at Virtue Motors,
it's all in the detail.